And joining me right now is Mr. Ojeda. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
So, simple question. Why do you want to be president?
Well, you know, I think that America has got some serious issues. Over the last 19 months running for Congress, I've received phone calls, letters from all over the United States of America, and people talking about the issues that they have. And those issues are the same issues that we have in southern West Virginia. You know, the Bronx, south side of Chicago, Flint, Michigan, and even places like Silicon Valley. So, you know, I was able to turn more folks away from, you know, the Trump side in my race, 37 points on.
Let me show an example of how you were talking to your voters in one of your TV ads. Let me play a clip for it here.
I'm Richard Ojeda, and people say that I'm angry. Well, angry is an understatement.
I'm sick and tired of the same paper cutout politicians. I spent decades fighting for this country, and now it's time to go to D.C. and defend our homeland.
This is what you all are fighting for.
The one thing that I think people underestimate about what Trump did for the Trump base is he gave them somebody. What Trump did is made them matter. They had felt ignored. A lot of politicians were skipping over them. A lot of companies were skipping over them. So I understand why they feel like, hey, Trump came and talked to us. He wanted to woo us. You're making the argument that if Democrats would just show up, you might be able to make some gains. Is that how you would explain it?
Absolutely. The Democrats did not offer us a candidate that would stand with the working class citizens, that understood the issues on the ground. And that's what I do. I stand with the working class wholeheartedly. I support unions wholeheartedly. You know, I understand that we've got elderly out there that are cutting meds in half. When I returned home from spending 24 years in the military, I found an opioid epidemic that had destroyed the communities in which I grew up in. But once again, the communities all across the United States of America have found themselves in the same situation.
Here's the thing. You know, we talk about our rural-urban divide, and it's really a metropolitan, rural, urban and suburban on one side, ex-urban and rural on another. And, you know, so if Democrats and Republicans don't even live in the same community, how are they going to communicate? And yet, if you step foot in every one of these communities, the issues are the same.
Absolutely.
Okay, health care, you know, it's some form of security, some form of health care, some form of education. It may be a different education issue in Arlington, Virginia as it is in Charleston, West Virginia. So how do you get rural Republicans who don't trust Democrats to listen?
Well, I think it's going with my thought process, which is actually sacrificing. When you say you're going to serve, you're going to sacrifice it well. If our congressmen and our senators and even the President of the United States fell under the same health care situation that the rest, I guarantee you we'd fix health care in this country. If their children had to go to public school, we would fix the public school issues. I'm saying that, you know what, I'm the guy that's willing to say, I guarantee you, I will stay in the VA system. And that's important for me because that puts me in the same situation as all of my brothers and sisters who have served this nation. I need to know exactly the way the healthcare system operates because then when I make a decision or I cast a vote or something like that, I know that it's affecting me as well as everyone else. What would be wrong with the rest of the elected officials out there in the same boat?
So some of the questions about your candidacy are going to come from this. All right, you come from West Virginia. You've never had a campaign for African Americans. You never had a campaign for Latinos. And how would you answer that question?
Well, first and foremost, you know, I spent 24 years in the military where it didn't matter. It didn't matter about what the color of your skin was or how you prayed. It mattered about you being able to get up there and do your job. I worked with people from all over this country. But I'll also tell you that, you know, my grandfather, everyone knows. Both of my grandfathers come from this country, from other countries. But, you know, my grandfather come to this country initially illegally, okay? When they relocated back to West Virginia, they Americanized our name.
By the way, a lot of Americans did this.
That's right.
Done this.
They Americanized their name. But, you know, my father and his siblings were actually called the N-word because they couldn't speak English and they ended up living in
anybody that wasn't white.
That's right.
It was getting
That's
called
right.
this.
So, you know, believe me, you know, my family.
What you're saying is you feel that pain.
Well, I can't say that I feel the same pain that my father felt, but I can assure you that, you know, when I was in combat, you know, it was never about, the person behind me was an African American. The person that was my gunner to my left was, you know, a Hispanic. To me, it's about you pull your weight, you do your job. And if we can get to that, let's focus on that, and then we'll be okay.
The fact that your ancestors came came from Mexico. You think that actually cost you in the end? Explain.
Well, I think that in the end,
You were close. Your race, and nobody thought you could make this race close.
Absolutely.
And you had made this race. This was a neck-and-neck race, and it became sort of a fascinating race to follow.
Yes.
He came in, you say Trump came in late, and what did he do that you feel as if made it hard?
Well, you know, at the time, the topic of conversation was the caravan.
Right.
And it became one of the number one issues in West Virginia in terms of the campaign. And all of a sudden, my opponent started doing it first. And then when he come down there, he mirrored it. And that was pronouncing my name, Ojeda. Now, once again,
Knowing full well how your name is pronounced.
absolutely. Everybody in West Virginia knows how I pronounce my name. I mean, in the last couple of years, the medical cannabis bill, SB 386, was my bill, which made West Virginia the 29th state to become legal for medical cannabis. The teacher strike, everyone knows that, you know, I supported the teachers and the school service personnel probably more than any. And that kind of also put me in, you know, the eye of the news.
Sure.
Everybody knew how I pronounced my name. But this was coming down there and using an opportunity to do what they could to villainize me in the eyes of maybe those people that did not have access to know exactly who Richard Ojeda was. And I believe that that did play a role. But he's going to learn my name. He's going to learn my name.
Fight, fight, fight. When don't you fight? You know, on one hand is what you say you're a fighter. At some point, the president only fights.
Right.
That's been sort of, when one fight's done, he finds another. How do you know when the fight is done?
Well, you know, ultimately, it's not always about fighting. I can work with people. Like I said, I spent 24 years in the military. I've worked with the militaries of other countries. You know, it's about trying to sit down, come up with good ideas, courses of action, then deciding which courses of action is the best, it's going to help our people, and then following through with that course of action. Believe me, I have no problems working with people.
When are you going to make your final? When do you know that this is real? When do you know if you can pull this off? And you follow through with it, or you're just in?
I'm in.
You're in. There's no exploring. There's none of that. You're in. I'm seeing you in Iowa pretty soon. You'll learn how to shovel snow.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is this: I was able to turn more people that voted for Trump back to voting for a Democrat. In Middle America, I believe that I can do that because I can relate to the people in Middle America. I think that if we send the same cookie cutter politician at Trump in 2020, you're going to see a lot of people crying again, just like they did in 2016. But it's like this, you know. Do you want to win? Then send somebody that's willing to get in there and fight and take this country back. Because I have a vested interest. Because I've got the names of my brothers on my back that did not come home. And that's why my fight will continue.
Richard Ojeda, it's been nice meeting you. I look forward to following your candidacy.
Hey, thank you.
Stay safe on the trail. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.